everybody. This is Commissioner Dick Schutz of the Central Minnesota's Finest League. I'm welcoming everybody back here for another week of review and preview. I'm going to go ahead and review week number 12 in our fantasy football season, Thanksgiving week. And then I'm also going to preview our regular season finale here in week 13. And we have a lot on the line for almost everybody in our league. I'll dip into that in a little bit. But for now, let's kind of revert and review week number 12. The first matchup I want to review here in week number 12 is between Mike's team and Steph's team. This is the last time these two teams will be matching up for this season, being purple divisional foes. This time, Steph gets the better of Mike, 211 to 159. Steph moves to 7-5. She's third overall in the league, and Mike falls to 2-10. Mike is in 8th place. He's in last place in our league. Mike and Steph, they finish this season playing each other 3 times, and Steph got the better of Mike 2 games to 1. She wins 2 out of 3 against Mike this season. The second matchup I want to talk about is between Kyle and Turtle. This is a gold divisional matchup, the third and final time these two teams will be playing each other in the regular season. Kyle gets the better of Turtle, 182 to 122. Kyle moves to 6-6 in the season. He's now in 5th place overall in our league. Turtle falls to 5-7 overall and is in 7th place in our league. Despite the win for Kyle, he loses the best of 3 against Turtle this season. Turtle goes 2-1 against Kyle, but Kyle gets the much needed win at a really, really good time. The third matchup I want to talk about here in week 12 is between Troy and Jared. One of the biggest matchups we had in week 12. We had many of them, but this is probably one of the bigger ones. And we had Troy explode against Jared, scoring a league high 312 points. Troy did, and he defeated Jared 312 to 172. Troy moves to 8-4. He's now second in our league, and Jared, he falls to 6-6. He's 4th in our league. With that win for Troy, he clinched the gold division. He clinched the number 2 seed, and he has clinched a first-round bye into the semifinals. Now, going back to Steph, I forgot to mention this. Because of her win against Mike, Steph also clinched a playoff spot. Because Turtle lost and the next team I haven't discussed yet, and Dusty lost, that means Jared clinches a playoff spot as well, even though he lost to Troy here in week 12, because Jared has the tiebreaker over Turtle and Dusty. So, Jared is in, Steph is now in, and Troy is not only in, but he's also clinched that first round bye and the gold divisional title. The fourth matchup I want to talk about in week 12 is between Ryan and Dusty. Ryan gets the victory, 257 to 208. Ryan moves to 9-3 in the season. Dusty falls to 5-7. Ryan, with that win, clinches the number 1 overall record. He clinches the purple division. And he also clinches that first round bye into the semifinals. He will be playing the highest seed to come out of the quarterfinals as we reseed, because he's the number 1 overall seed. Now, I want to go ahead and discuss our standings. In the purple division, we have Ryan clinching the purple division. He is headed to the playoffs. He's headed as the number 1 overall seed. He is now 9-3 going into the last week of the season. He's 7-2 in the division. And because he no longer has any more divisional games, he will finish the season with a 7-2 divisional record. In second place in the purple division is Steph. She is 7-5 after the victory against Mike. She clinches a playoff spot. She is 4-4 in the division. Because she has another game in the division against Dusty, her divisional record is not complete yet. She's won 2 games in a row. Steph's team really doing a really good job here. In third place in the purple division is Dusty. He's 5-7 overall, 4-4 in the division. He's lost 2 in a row, and he's at that number 6 spot in our league because he's got the tiebreaker over Turtle as it stands. In first place in the gold division is Troy. And Troy, not only first place in the gold division, he has clinched the gold division. Troy clinches it with an 8-4 record going into the last regular season matchup. He finishes the division at a 7-2 rate. So congrats to Troy winning the gold division. It's his first time that Troy has clinched a division title in the short 4 years here in this fantasy football league. In the second place in the gold division, as it stands now, is Jared. Jared is 6-6 overall, 3-5 in the division. He's got 1 more game in the division against Kyle. In third place in the gold division, as it stands, is Kyle. He's 6-6 overall and 3-5 in the division, just like Jared. And in fourth place in the gold division is Turtle. He is 5-7 overall and 4-5 in the division. He is done now with divisional play. He finishes 1 game under 500 in his division. The playoff picture looks like this. The season doesn't end today, and it didn't end after week 12. It will end week 13, but if it had finished in week 12, this would have been the playoff picture. Ryan would have been the number 1 overall seed. Troy would have been the number 2 overall seed. They both would have had a bye in the quarterfinals into the semifinals. So then the 3-6 matchup would be Steph versus Dusty, and the 4-5 matchup would be Jared versus Kyle. The odds that all that stay the same after week 13 aren't very good, other than Ryan and Troy staying where they are. Because I have a strong feeling that we will have some things rearranged after week 13. Now, before I go ahead and talk about week 13 and review week 13, I want to mention this for everybody to know. Yahoo bases their tiebreaker off of total points forced for your entire season. They do not base tiebreakers off of head-to-head matchups, wins versus a certain opponent. I do that. Now, in order for me to get that right, I need to adjust points. Okay? For example, going into week 13, Dusty was the 7 seed. Okay? And Turtle was the 6th seed. But Dusty has the tiebreaker over Turtle. So that was not right by my standards. The reason why Turtle was the number 6 seed and Dusty was the number 7 seed is because Turtle had more points than Dusty. So what I did is I edited Dusty's total points and I gave him 38 extra points so he can surpass Turtle by 1 point going into this last week. So keep that in mind. That is why Dusty jumped ahead of Turtle yesterday. Okay? So I just want everyone to be aware of that. That is why that happened. And if we run into that same issue after week 13, I will readjust somebody else's point total so we get the correct teams in the playoffs by my standards and by my tie-breaking rules. All right. Let's go into week 13 here. I got a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and dive into it. The first matchup I want to review here in week 13 is between Troy and Mike. There's not much to talk about when it comes to this game. Troy has already clinched the number 2 seed. He's already clinched the gold divisional title. And he's clinched a bye into the semifinals, which is week 15. A win or a loss does nothing for Troy. And Mike has already assured himself of the very worst record in our league. So, that's a little bit of the review here in week 13 between Troy and Mike. There's not much else to talk about. There really isn't. Now let's get into the other 3 matchups. And the other 3 matchups have a lot more going on for themselves. The second matchup I want to talk about in week 13 is between Kyle and Jared. This is the last time these 2 divisional foes will play each other this season in the Gold Division. And both teams have a lot going on. Let's start with Kyle. Here's the scenario for Kyle to get into the playoffs or possibly miss the playoffs. If Kyle wins, he is in the playoffs as the number 4 seed. If Kyle loses, he will need Dusty or Turtle to lose to clinch a playoff spot. If Kyle loses and Turtle wins and Dusty loses, Kyle is the number 6 seed. If Kyle loses and Dusty wins and Turtle loses, Kyle will be the number 5 seed. For Jared in this matchup, Jared is already in the postseason. He clinched not because he won last week, but because Turtle and Dusty both lost. A loss to Kyle for Jared means that Jared would be the number 5 seed in the playoffs. A win for Jared and a loss by Steph clinches Jared the number 3 seed because he has the tiebreaker against Steph. If Steph wins in said scenario, Jared will fall back and will be the number 4 seed if he wins. So there is the second matchup. That's what's on the line for those 2 teams. It's big. I mean, this is the last regular season matchup of the season for everybody. That one had a lot on the line, and it does have a lot on the line. The third matchup I want to talk about in Week 13 is between Steph and Dusty. Let's talk about Steph, and then we'll roll into Dusty. For Steph, Steph is the number 3 seed if she wins. If Steph loses and Jared wins, she is the number 4 seed. If Jared loses to Kyle, Steph clinches the number 3 seed whether she wins or loses. So there is Steph's scenarios here rolling into the last week of the season. For Dusty here in Week 13 against Steph, in their last purple divisional matchup. If Dusty defeats Steph and Kyle beats Jared, Dusty is in the playoffs because he owns the tiebreaker against Turtle. If Dusty wins and Turtle loses, Dusty clinches as well. Dusty in said scenarios would be the number 6 seed in the playoffs. If Dusty loses and Turtle beats Ryan, Dusty would be eliminated from playoff contention. So there's Dusty's scenarios. The fourth and final matchup I want to talk about here in Week 13 is a non-divisional matchup between Ryan and Turtle. So let's dive on into the scenarios surrounding this game. For Ryan, Ryan has already clinched the number 1 overall seed. He is the purple divisional champ. He has a bye into the semifinals, which is Week 15. He will play the highest seed remaining in Week 15 for a chance to play in the championship. And now let's talk about Turtle. If Turtle wins and Dusty loses, Turtle clinches a playoff spot. If Kyle loses as well in said scenario, Turtle would be the number 5 seed, and Kyle would fall to the number 6 seed because Turtle has the tiebreaker over Kyle. If Kyle wins in this scenario, Turtle will be the number 6 seed because Kyle will have one more win than Turtle. If Turtle loses, he is eliminated from playoff contention. He must win to have a chance. If Turtle wins, if Kyle loses, and Dusty wins, we will have to go to total points scored to figure out the last 2 teams to get into the playoffs. The reason why, pay attention here, Turtle has the tiebreaker over Kyle. Okay? Dusty has a tiebreaker over Turtle. But Dusty does not have the tiebreaker over Kyle. So it's mass chaos. It really is. So by rule, and because of that, okay, and everybody, all those 3 teams finish with the same record, we will go by total points forced to determine those last 2 spots. Now, because I gave Dusty 38 added points to surpass Turtle based on tiebreaker going into this week, I would have to subtract 38 points from Dusty's total to get his realistic number. That's all I have for everybody here. I wish everybody the best of luck. I gave everybody the scenarios to get in, everyone the scenarios for those who are competing for that last playoff spot or last couple playoff spots. I gave you the scenarios for which you will not qualify for the playoffs. From here, it's all about setting the very best lineups that you can and getting the job done. Good luck to everybody. The next preview will be all about the playoffs, baby. Good luck, and we'll see you next week.